Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this evening's meeting of the Taft City Council Successor Agency for July the 17th, 2018. As a courtesy to all, if you will please silence your phones or put them on vibrate so we don't get embarrassed during this evening's meeting, I'd appreciate that. Any writings or documents provided to a majority of the City Council regarding any item on the agenda are made available for public inspection in the lobby at Taft City Hall, 209 East Kern Street, Taft, California, during normal business hours. Thank you, Senate Bill 343. To begin this evening's meeting, we're going to have the Pledge of Allegiance. I would ask that Councilman Miller please lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I'll be glad to.
Followed by the invocation, and Steve Williams is going to stand in for us. He's a facilitator this evening from Calvary Temple. If you would join us all, please.
Please join me as we honor our nation's flag. Hand over your heart and pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Would you join me in prayer? Heavenly Father, we meet tonight to serve our community, to use our resources, to represent the members, and to make decisions that promote common good for each and every one of us. We recognize our responsibility to those rights and needs, and as trusted servants, we ask your guidance to be among us tonight. We ask for your wisdom as we deliberate and make decisions. We ask that you would guide everything that transpires here tonight. We ask these things in your name.
Amen. Thank you very much, Steve. There you go. Madam Clerk, may we have a roll call, please?
Yes. Mayor Knorr.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill. Here. Councilmember Bryant.
Here.
Councilmember Cryer.
Here.
And Councilmember Miller.
Here.
All right, first item on this evening's agenda is a proclamation for Supervisor, I'm going to use that term, David Couch. I'm thrilled to be able to do this, as are the rest of the members of this council, sickened by the fact that we have to. However, I'm going to move forward with this. City of Taft, State of California, Certificate of Commendation presented to David Couch in appreciation for his years of service to the community of Taft. Whereas David Couch was born and raised in Bakersfield, is a graduate of Bakersfield High School, and later earned his Bachelor of Science degree in Business Administration with a concentration in accounting from San Jose State University. And whereas David was first elected to the Bakersfield City Council in 1998 and continued to serve as the Ward 4 councilman for over 13 years, serving twice as vice mayor. And whereas in 2012, David was elected to the Kern County Board of Supervisors 4th District, serving as chairman of the board in 2015. And whereas during Couch's time in the 4th District, he made many improvements and enhanced the quality of life on the west side. And whereas David was actively involved in Taft and genuinely cared about the citizens, sponsoring movies in the park, making sure county roads were repaired, made infrastructure improvements and organized community cleanup events, these are just a few of the impacts that he made in his service to the west side. Whereas Couch listened to the community, responded to the needs of the west side, and reestablished a working relationship between Kern County and the city of Taft. And whereas the members of the City Council appreciate David's years of public service and dedication to the City of Taft and want to recognize his dedication. Now therefore, the City Council of the City of Taft, on behalf of the citizens of the community and all city employees, hereby recognizes David Couch for his dedication to the West Side and his involvement in the community of Taft, and wishes him continued success in all his future endeavors. Dated this 17th day of July 2018, signed by myself as well as all the rest of the very eager to be a part of this City Council of the City of Taft. So, David Couch. Bring up here. David, we're going to ask you to join us up here, please. Just move this out of the way because we got to get some pictures.
Oh. It's going to make us all look even shorter than we are, right?
Yeah, that's right. All right. Right in the middle, David, right in the middle. Stand there proudly with the city of Tahoe.
You're better. They're looking behind you. Ready? Just so you know.
No, I'm okay right there. 1, 2, 3. Okay.
That it?
That's great.
We got a quick photographer.
He's good.
David, if you would like to address the
I would
council.
love to. Can I take? No, you're going to make this long speech.
I haven't even got started.
Oh, out this way?
It's like Jenga.
Always a challenge. There you go.
You do that remodel. We might want to put a photo op corner around.
That's some truth to that, too. I guess if David wants this box, we can give him that.
Well, Mr. Mayor, council members, first of all, this is the kind of thing you typically get when you're about to die. So is there? You all know that I don't know. Let me just say that I've enjoyed. First of all, I miss you. I miss all of you. I miss your staff. I miss the council members. I miss the people of this portion of the West Side. They're a special kind of people, and I'll always remember that. I want to say that any success that I have enjoyed here has been due to some people that some of them are behind me here today, and I want to recognize them. I had to make sure not all of them could come, but I want to make sure that I recognize the ones that are here and mention to some that aren't here. Some of you may have never met Charlotte Taylor before, but Charlotte was in Ray Watson's office before I got there, and after interviewing her and getting to know her, I kept her around, and she made the whole thing run on time. But she's gone on to bigger and better things. She's in the behavioral health department. I'm proud of the fact that a lot of our staff people move on to other things. But Charlotte, thank you for, she and her husband Jason. Some of you will remember Alan Christensen. He couldn't come here tonight. He was the first chief of staff I had. Of course, you know Ryan Schultz, who's here. Ryan has been with me on this ever since I decided to actually run, and couldn't have gotten elected without him, and I couldn't have done anything else without him either. Brandon Martin, as some of you have gotten to know, he just ran for judge. My staff is perhaps overqualified if they can run. But he wasn't able to make it tonight, or is he? Did he make it tonight? He hasn't made it. Jocelyn Camacho is our most recent intern, and I don't know if she was not able to make it tonight. And another gentleman who's recovering from, I think what you would call an open heart surgery. His name's Sal Moretti. You probably haven't gotten to know him yet. He just recently came on with us, and 2 weeks later he was having open heart surgery. So that doesn't reflect on employment at the county or in my office.
You don't exude that much pressure, David.
I just wanted to really conclude by saying that I appreciate this. I appreciate the work that you all do, your staff, and what council members do. And I'll conclude with a promise. I no longer represent this area. I wish I did, but you'll always have my friendship and my support. Thank you very much.
Thank you, David. There's one other guy I seem to remember as a part of your team, a bulldog kind of a fellow.
You're going to hear about it later,
That's
I'm sure.
right. I'm going to help you out there.
Don't think you don't watch this video.
Yeah. Just for everybody's information, David Couch came to the West Side to represent the West Side, and he had been a city councilman over in Bakersfield, but not on the West Side. I did not know David, and I know a great many people did not. But he pledged to represent the people of the West Side with responsive government as well as access to government, which they did not have prior to Team Couch. David, however, set a whole new standard. Prior to David Couch and his group coming over here, the best argument for annexation for all of these small areas of the West Side was access to government. I'd talk to people all the time. You don't have it. You don't have responsive representation. Whereas if you're in the proper city of Taft, access to government's easy. There's no one of these people up here on this dais you can't find given any Saturday. They didn't have that on the West Side. until David Couch and his crew came along. David was elected by 52% in 2012. In 2016, those numbers swelled to over 75%, reflecting the impact that Team Couch had representing the West Side. So, when we had to go through the redrawing of the district lines, I will tell you all that I was there. I spoke. I thoroughly and adamantly disagree with it. That's a lot longer subject. But we, on the West Side, were victims of that, unwitting victims. We elected a supervisor. We enjoyed the quality of government that he represented and his team represented, and he was taken away from us without so much as a single question asked of the people of the West Side that, like I say, supported him to the tune of 75%. That was wrong. That is not transparent government, and it actually sickened me, and for all of us who lost David as our representative, we lost a big part of what we had going on. We will move forward. David will. And I truly believe David's going to get elected, and there's a bunch of new people that are going to be fortunate enough to have David represent them. So my hat's off to them, unfortunately for us, but we will go on and we'll see what kind of government we get on the side. So I vehemently agree with who you are and what you are, David. Look forward to hearing about it. I will support you in all your endeavors because you have earned that. So. I saw Brandon with his family slide in the back door there. Would any of the other council members like to address David before he gets out of here individually?
Well, sometimes county government, they just forget where Taft is. And David and his team never forgot that. Because he would say, hey, let's go out to Taft. And they say, oh, great, let's go out there. Instead of saying, oh man, do we have to drive all the way out there? And, oh God, it's an hour. You never complained, and when you were here, you got things done. And City of Taft has been proud to be a partner with you, and the county metropolitan areas that surround Taft have benefited from your work to get rid of some dilapidated buildings, get code enforcement to do what they're to do, get some sidewalks up in South Taft, to get a lot of things done. And you saw a need out here and what we were lacking from from county government. You made things happen, and we appreciate that. Although we're losing you, we're going to get Zach Scribner as our county supervisor, and he knows where Taft is. I bet it's a little further from Tehachapi to get out here to Taft, and he's going to have to make a little extra effort, but he's not forgotten his time out here and found that, you know, people are warm and friendly and helpful and make good partners. So, David, thank you so much for all that you did for us. Thank you.
Orshel?
Thank you, Mayor. I got to know David, not personally, but I've heard him on the radio shows on a weekend with Merrill Lynch talking about, or during the weekdays, about investments and stuff at the time. And I learned a lot about that. I was looking at my retirement, you know, trying to work at that and get a little good advice and stuff. And I went to a couple of council meetings. I was the councilman for the city of Bakersfield, and got to know the guy that way, but not personally. So when I first heard that he was running for supervisor, he got my vote right then, my support, when I heard about that guy. I knew his character, and character to me matters a lot, and it proved itself. You know, everybody can't say anything negative about Dave, what he did here for us. And it was just really missed. And I too was at supervisor meetings discussing about redistricting and all that stuff, and my concerns at the time was I didn't want to be part of a minority deal or anything like that stuff, and you know I was against it, and it's pretty much you know, doing it in secret and stuff and everything, and why can't do it in the open deal. And at that time I did my smoke before the supervisor, and afterwards, after long was Yeah, I voiced my opinion at your coming to your office and stuff. What can we do? What can we do and stuff? Because I like being impersonal with my supervisors on that. And then it passed. And unfortunately, we lost David as our supervisor. And I talked with our new supervisor, Zach Scrivener, and we had some issues from the past and stuff. But I overlook that stuff because I want to do the right thing as for our citizens here in our district here. I'm not going to put anything negative in there, and I'm going to support him 100% as our supervisor, and I will actually support him. But after that talk, Zach told me, I'm going to make sure we get Taft in my district, and he did. He did what he said he was going to do it, but he said he got Taft in there because he knew my concern about being in the other district. But if I would have known that David was going to run in the 2nd district, we're in the 4th district, a new 4th district, I'd probably say, well, if I want to take the risk and get stay in this 4th district. But anyway, the dividing line is Midway Road between for David's new districts. The dividing road right through, cut through Little Fellows, and Derby Acres is in your district, and
Wow.
yeah. So that's a new point. So I'm the envy of the people in Derby Acres on on that part. I used to have a business in Derby Acres, but not anymore. But darn, I got rid of it too quick. But David's been a great man, and I just can't say enough of his team. Charlotte, I'm going to miss you. I used to come to the office there, and we sit there and talk while David's in the meeting. Some we're talking with some other people. You keep me entertained for a little while to take us out of the meeting and stuff. And sometimes you'll stick me on to Ryan, and Ryan will take over the second half, and then David would be available then. We'll talk about issues. And David's always heart has been in our city. He's done an awful lot for us. And I hope and pray that Zach Zivner will do the same thing. Take us seriously. That we're not just off the left field somewhere and are forgotten. And I have confidence in him. And but you're always going to be in my heart, and I'm going to do everything I can to help you in your next. I'll probably belong in 2 districts. I don't know. I might have a couple places in your district still. I can't vote though, but I'll still support you. But anyway, thank you again, David, for all you've done, and you'll be sorely missed. And Ryan and Charlotte, Brandon, God bless you. You did good, and thank you for what you did in his office. Thank you very much. Thank you,
Councilman
Mayor.
Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. David, my first inclination word choice was to say we were spoiled by your service. And not just you, and I speak to David, but I speak about your entire office. Spoiled is not the right word. Because at the end of the day, we should expect the type of interaction that we've had both as a city, as a constituent, with our county supervisors. So I say this begrudgingly, you've met the expectations, but you set that bar even higher. Your office has always been responsive to questions, and not only responsive, because that's the niche that government tends to fall into, responsive or reactive. Your office was very proactive, especially out here on the west side, and I can't begin to tell you guys how important that is to not only the folks in the city of Taft, but in everything that's considered Taft, the 93268, the west side. Your guys' ability to be proactive and to anticipate our questions or to answer our questions. You didn't always give us the answer we wanted, but you gave us the truth, and you gave us a prognosis, and you gave us a plan. And that's something that a lot of times you don't get, unfortunately, from government representatives, and I'm so very thankful that we had that while we were with you. I'm hopeful that we get the same type of reaction and same type of interactions and relationships with our new county supervisor that we have with you and your staff. And I just can't thank you guys enough. The mayor mentioned it. The way that you can always go out to, you can get a hold of David, and he's already on it. I share a little story, and David, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. I got some friends by way of my other involvements who live up in the Delano area that David serves now. And their question, because they're a tenant of the County Parks and Rec, was they wanted to know how to create a relationship. And we built that rapport where I could reach out to David and say, hey, just curious, I'd like to help advocate for these folks in some way. And his response, I should have expected, we're already on it. So I'm sad to say that we're going to miss that. I'm hopeful that we're going to get that in our new county supervisor, and you've got our support, at least mine personally, and I know that others have expressed it, in whatever you do from here on out. So thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you. There's not a lot more I can add to that other than we really do thank you for your service to this community. We thank you for the staff that's always accessible. And on behalf of Dr. Oren and myself, we will really miss you.
Yes.
David, you are an honorary Rotary Club member in Taft. Are you going to still be remaining an honorary Rotary Club of Taft? That's what I Thank you.
Once a Taftian, always a Taftian, David.
Hey, we're building houses too.
I felt the groundwork being laid for some fines to be levied.
Guys are Rotarian talking.
All right, everybody.
If you come to Kiwanis, the fines are a lot cheaper, and we could probably make a room for a membership.
We like Seroptimisters, and we don't have fines.
Are there any other service clubs that are not represented?
I am.
All right. David, thank you very much. Thank you for everybody from the West Side. David. Or is he in the Dominican Republic? Bring David along.
Thanks, David.
You know, there's a lot of proclamations and handed out at different functions and different meetings. But I'll tell you, and I've seen a lot of them in my career here, there is no finer proclamation presentation than the one from the city of Taft to hang on your wall. It's truly a gift.
Thank you to staff for doing such a great job and making it something that we'll be always proud of. So thank you all very much. All right, moving forward, study session. Item number 2, economic development presentation by Retail Strategies. Mark Staples. Mark,
Good evening.
introduce them. Okay.
I can introduce.
You're not Mark Staples.
The council remembers the group that we hired as consultants for economic development, Retail Strategies. This is their site visit, boots on the ground. They've been in Taft all day, have attended a few meetings, toured the city and some of the outlining areas. And this is Scott Van Cannon and Joe Strauss. They're here to give you a presentation and take questions.
Cool.
All right, very good.
Mayor, Council, thank you for your time this evening. Sounds like if we could do a fraction of the work David did, we'd be in good standing here.
Give you a statue.
Pretty cool to witness that, but I know you'll have other items on the agenda tonight, so I think we've been told we have about 15, 20 minutes. Really want to use this opportunity to talk big picture about who we are, what we do. As Craig had mentioned, we entered into an agreement with the city a couple months ago. We typically allocate the first 100 days of our partnership as to what we refer to as our discovery phase. So we're intel and information gathering right now, learning more about this community, creating a plan from that, which we will be presenting via webinar to the council here, probably hopefully in the next several weeks. But again, want to just talk a little bit about who we are, what we do. We are a municipal consulting firm headquartered in Birmingham, Alabama. We have an office in Dallas, Fort Worth as well. We partner with communities across the country to help them in their efforts to bring more retail within their city limits. There's kind of a misconception out there that cities can go out and just bring retailers to their community, and unfortunately, it is a misconception. It's not an easy task at all, and there are very, very few items that a city can actually control itself. Our company grew out of a retail real estate firm several years ago, so we entered this industry with relationships with the national retailers and really understanding of retail real estate as well. There's an analytics, a data perspective that we'll talk briefly about, and then we'll talk about our boots on the ground tour today, and then everything really moving forward. So within the first 45 days of our partnerships, we run a variety of reports looking at the demographics, income levels, traffic counts, things that the retailers are looking for. We can drill very deep within the data to the extent of identifying, dollars spent on milk within a certain area, or people in Taft are buying 1% or 2% milk. But we have about 23,000 variables that we have the ability to review on behalf of the community, and are essentially hand selecting the strengths and the items that we believe are selling points to retailers. That's essentially why we're running that information. So talk about our approach. Joe and I got in here last night. I've spent the entire day here in Taft really driving the market and understanding the real estate side as well. Following this visit, we'll get back to the office, and we essentially take a look at what the data tells us about Taft and what the real estate attributes are, and we compile a retail recruitment plan, which again we will be sharing to the city essentially as a deliverable. And then our job from that point is executing that plan and moving forward. So within that plan, we identify retailers that are active, that are growing, and that also fit this market. Retailers that would take a look at Taft that fit the demographics, that fit this size market, and again are active in this region as well. This is very much a partnership. It's a locked arm approach. We have already leaned on both Mark and Craig several times, and we'll continue to lean on them. But we really see you guys as the local experts with your feet on the street, and we're kind of the outside experts with the relationships with the retailers. So we've conducted the reports. I know a lot of this, I'll try to keep this in a more of a verbal setting, as some of this is tough to read, but I'll kind of outline some of the reports. First thing we want to do is identify a trade area, essentially the distance people are willing to drive to pick up their goods and services. Retailers could care less about how many people live within the municipal boundaries of Taft or any other market. They don't look at it that way. So what we're doing is compiling the pieces they need and the way they look at it, and we're trying to sell this community to some of those retailers. Mobile data collection is another report that we run that it sounds a little Big Brother-ish, but essentially is a report that is tracking people to a degree via their cell phones. It's a very useful tool for us, although it sounds a little scary, but it allows us to really prove a trade area. So we can essentially drop a pin on a computer, on an Albertsons or any other retail box in any area, and identify where people are coming from to walk in the door of that grocery store. Well, we can essentially identify that as a retail trade area and push that on to retailers to essentially show them it's more than the population within the city limits that are shopping here. Leakage report, gap analysis, probably another report you may have heard of or may be familiar with, essentially capturing the dollars that are leaving the city limits, most likely going to areas like Bakersfield, and that essentially helps us identify what opportunity is here. You know, where are the mass segments of retail that are leaving this area, and we want to essentially identify those and go after retailers that are active within those segments as well. So a lot of what we're doing, Joe and I essentially lead this team. We have a group of individuals that conduct proactive outreach not only to retailers, but are communicating with your local property owners and local brokerage community as well. And when I say local brokerage community, a lot of the real estate agents are located in Bakersfield or other areas, but those are the people that are working on the sites, working on the shopping centers. So a lot of what we did today, I think we identified close to 25 sites in town, not just vacant properties or not just existing shopping centers. It's a combination of all the above. Anything that would be perceived as a good site to a retailer, we want to know about it and what the story is. We're looking for underutilized pieces of properties, and most importantly, properties that retailers are interested in. We can never force a retailer or a developer to choose one side or another. What we can do is expose them to things that they might not have already seen and that they might not be proactively looking at here in Taft. So a lot of it is basically a combination of what the analytics are telling us and the real estate as well. We have a marketing team that creates all kind of marketing flyers. I have a draft of a piece right here. So we do attend a lot of conferences and trade shows to market this community to retailers and brokers and developers as well. So this is just a snapshot of some of the information that they're looking for. It has an aerial of the existing retail landscape here in Taft. And again, it allows retailers to vet out this community as well. A lot of the retailers that we work with, they might have plans to open 100 stores, and they're probably looking at 500 markets. And they're cutting away market by market, city by city. Our job is to ensure and try to convince that decision maker that Taft needs to be on that list of 100. Sometimes they won't make the list of 100 year one, and we're ensuring that they're on that list next year. A lot of these retailers typically are planning 24 months out. So the stores that they're looking at are 2019, maybe even 2020 stores right now are what they're looking at. So that's a lot of what we're talking about. As far as our reporting and communication to our client, again, we typically allocate 1 to 2 points of contact. We've clearly been working directly with Mark and Craig here, and we use an online platform called Basecamp, which we actually load all the analytics. We load the recruitment plan, which we're working on. We load the property catalog, all the marketing materials such as this that we use. So you guys have direct access. Again, that's more of the physical deliverable. But personally, in my eyes, I see a lot of our value is everything after that. Once that plan is created, it's kind of our game plan per se, but it's the execution of that plan that actually connects those dots together. So we're really a matchmaker. We are working consistently with again, those property owners and brokers, and trying to match those with retailers that are interested in this community. We go to several trade shows throughout the year, probably about 15 as a company, which are retail trade shows. ICSC, which is the largest retail trade organization in the world. We're very involved in that organization, and again, go to a lot of those trade shows. That again just allows us to get the opportunity to sit one-on-one with some of those retailers, and again, sell this community and sell sites. Typically, we're given the big picture. That's kind of what this marketing piece is. And if we can get a retailer to say, Scott, this town makes sense to me, tell me where I need to be, again, that kind of goes back to what we're doing today, identifying the sites that fit for those retailers. So we can then basically push them to a site that we've already pre-vetted out and fits their criteria as well. There's a little, what we call a retail recruitment ladder on the bottom half of that page. Very difficult to see, but essentially kind of gives an idea of the tiers of retailers. Sometimes we'll get asked, can we get a Kohl's? Can we get a Costco, Walmart, some of these big box stores? And frankly, as a community grows, it starts off with some of the smaller retailers, and as the community gets a little bit larger and the population grows and so on, larger tiers of retailers come in. So some of them will even look at the existing list of retailers already here just to vet out whether or not they fit this market. And some of them can take a glance in 2 seconds to know whether or not they would consider this market. So again, I'm sorry it's tough to see, but it also, what's really probably more important about this chart, it identifies roughly sales volumes, that first column per se, 40, 20, 10, 5, and 1, that's in millions. So, a Target can do 50, 60 million, and they're again on the top tier. A Home Depot, someone like that's doing on average 20, 25 million in revenue a year. What's really the most important is that far right column. Someone like McDonald's, for instance, which does about 2.5 million in revenue on average at any of their individual stores, that would output about $25,000 directly to the city in regards to sales tax revenue. So that's a big reason we're around, and a reason cities need us and they want us. They want to boost their sales tax revenue. They want to bring in, there's a job creation aspect as well, and they also want to bring in additional services and a variety of shopping options, which essentially boosts your quality of life for your citizens as well. This is our scope of service. I think I won't go through every bullet point there, but I'm pretty sure every council member saw the Exhibit A within our contract. But again, that first 100 days, which we're towards the end of that, we'll have our recruitment plan done here in the next few weeks. We'll be setting up a time to give that in a webinar presentation format, and then we're off to the races. So we'll have a couple conferences coming up later this fall, and then again, Vegas is back in May. In my personal opinion, there's probably more importance in our day-to-day, just reaching out to retailers. We'll identify a list of probably somewhere between 50 and 60 retailers that are active, growing, and fit this market. And then our job, our retail recruitment team's job, is to go after those retailers and try to pitch them sites that make sense. And then again, reporting that information, that progress, back to our contacts to relay to you guys as well. We always pray for patience. Unfortunately, these things do not happen overnight. I wish they did. It'd make my job a heck of a lot easier. But there's a process and a formula that essentially we feel we've created and have been very successful doing so. So given the right time allotment, we feel very confident for success here. Joe and I, again, have spent the entire day here in this market. We definitely see opportunities, not only from a real estate standpoint, but just missing retailer brands that we feel already should be here. One report I didn't mention, it's called a peer analysis. And it's a report that identifies peer communities across the region or the country that look eerily similar to Taft from a demographic standpoint. Similar population, similar growth trajectory, similar traffic counts, also similar retailers already there. And when we run this report, it spits out these peer communities. We have the ability to identify retailers that are in the peer communities but are not in Taft. And so if we can find a trend of a restaurant or an apparel store or a hardware store, whomever it may be, that are in these peer communities but not in Taft, that's a great selling point for us to really push on to that real estate director, essentially the guy that's making those decisions. So I don't know how I'm doing time-wise, but definitely want to open up to any questions, comments from the council's end.
All right, well, gentlemen and lady, I do believe that you were in a meeting with them, so I got to believe you asked a lot of the questions that you
We
wanted.
did, that's why.
Okay, so I'll tell you what, I will, Councilman Miller, do you have any questions?
Yeah, we're kind of an out here market.
Sure.
Two questions. Chains that are looking at, finding a spot to build or rent or whatever. What you're looking at and what you're thinking of is, should it be have them settle in Bakersfield first, then come out here? Because you got a supply chain somehow.
Right.
We're a little
Right.
off freeway, got to
Right.
get out here. So I'm sure that's part of the equation of trying to attract somebody here.
Sure. More times than not, those tenants most likely will already have a location in Bakersfield or will decide to do one there before coming here. That's not always going to be the case. But typically when a brand begins their expansion, they flood the big cities and then they kind of branch out into the more rural tertiary markets.
Very good observation. Thank you very much. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. Is there any suggestions that you can give us at the city or maybe to the Chamber of Commerce that we can do to up the percentage of getting a retailer or any business here in Taft, or
Sure.
to improve or to be more conductive when they come here?
Very, very good question. As far as getting general interest of a retailer, as I mentioned earlier, it's a very difficult thing for a city to do to get that initial interest. These retailers have a million options, and again, that's why some of companies like us are in existence. Once a retailer is here, absolutely. Being open for business, being very open-minded, trying to expedite permitting processes and things like that can most certainly, more than anything, give yourself a good reputation. There are communities that we've worked with that we have learned through reaching out to retailers did not have the best reputation, just being tough to deal with. So as on the front end, I perceive that as more our job to get them in here, and once they're interested, clearly they're going to have to deal with the city on many instances. So any way to expedite those services that the city has to provide for the retailer or the developer, or make that process streamlined and easy as possible. I have heard from several people that's a big thing that the city can do.
The other question is, we have a reputation of being a crime-free.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I shouldn't say crime-free, but it's very, very, low.
crime.
But to other people, it's a lot. But we have a very good statistic that we're a very safe city.
Sure.
Does that help in promoting as far as have no murders and no major robberies or anything like that? It's all been very. Our biggest deal is petty theft, basically because of the rules and regulations from California gave
Right.
us different propositions. But we have a very good police force here, and we're in the city very well, but our crime rate is very, very low considering the other cities. Does that help in promoting
It definitely doesn't hurt. We've been hired by cities that have a high crime rate, and it has affected us recruiting retailers. So it's definitely a good thing. I don't know if it's an attractant per se, but if you do have a high crime rate, we've had a couple retailers concerned that they're going to have more product going out the back door than the front door. And that has moved the needle on whether or not they want to open a store in that market. So certainly.
Or quality of life. Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Obviously, I was in the Economic Development Committee meeting, so I won't waste your time any further. what I thought was important that you touched on was timeline. These things don't happen overnight.
Right.
It's important for us to embrace patience, and I think it's important for the community to also understand that the fruit that we hope this thing will bear will likely not come for another 24 months or so. I mean, it's possible it comes sooner. By the roll of the dice, maybe we come up not rolling craps, but
Sure.
I think that's important.
Sure.
The other thing, more of a statement than a question, I'm really interested in, and Mark, this will be something you can maybe play to, the interplay between what you guys do in the first 45 to 100 days, the analysis, the voids, things like that, and then how that feeds into our CPAT specific plan type planning and through economic development, and how we use that information to then further hone that and those projects and such. So I'm very intrigued by that. But like I mentioned, and I'll say it again here, we don't expect you guys to work miracles.
Sure.
We expect you guys to provide feedback, and ultimately be our follow-through that we just couldn't do. We go to these people and say, hey, we're City of Taft, we're the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Right.
Now we've hired you to be our third party to validate in whatever area that might be. We fit their mold, make a sandwich out of us.
Sure.
Have at it.
Absolutely.
So we look forward to it for sure.
Thank you.
We definitely appreciate your time and look forward to supporting your efforts.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Mayor Pro Tem?
I too was in that meeting, but the one thing I was kind of putting you on the spot, how would you rate your effectiveness for finding retails for small towns like ours? Because we do have an interesting problem. We are away from the freeways. We are 30 miles away from Bakersfield, and we're 15 miles away from the nearest freeway.
Right.
How would you rate your effectiveness in that?
Well, we've worked with over 100 cities in about 26 states across the country. I think I mentioned earlier, over 90% of our clients are small communities, between a population of 10 and 50%. Given 2 to 3 years, I would say 95% we're going to recruit a retailer to your community. Absolutely. Sometimes we don't control a lot of these factors, and that's what makes it difficult. We don't own any of the dirt here in town or any other community, and we can't force a retailer to choose one side or one market over the other. Our job, we're influencers. We're here to influence decision making from the retailer standpoint, and really push what we know helps move that needle from a retailer's perspective. But given the right time allotment, we are very successful. But to your point, it does not happen overnight.
Thank you.
Mr.
All right.
Mayor, can I have one more?
Yes, sir.
We lured Kmart here.
Yeah.
Was very successful here.
Right.
We were one of the last stores to close, and there's many people in the community think that we've got a big box store out here, we can just get somebody else in there.
Right.
You don't have to address that tonight, but in your final report, will there be some mention about our search for a big box?
Sure, I don't mind addressing that tonight. Kmart's been closing stores for years. Them closing here in Taft has nothing to do with Taft.
Yeah.
That's a corporate national decision. Sears, Kmart is going one certain direction, and that's frankly down, but has nothing to do with this market. Joe and I and several other members from our team have worked on many vacant Kmarts because they are popping up everywhere. More so than others, we're seeing a lot of those boxes divided into 2 or 3 tenants. So you might have about 80,000 square feet. That typically leads, maybe a 20,000 square foot tenant, another 30,000 square foot tenant, maybe another 30,000 square foot. Breaking that box in it, there are not a lot of 80,000 square foot users out there that would backfill that entire space. The ones that are out there, for the most part, a lot of them do not come to towns this size. So what I would imagine will probably happen over time is that box would be split up for multiple users. We will take the strategy of trying to identify a user that would backfill the entire space, as well as simultaneously identifying users to subdivide it. We will have to conduct, dialogue and communication with the current owner. There's most likely lease still on that space that Kmart's still paying rent. There can be clauses actually to cancel that lease, believe it or not, which would hurt the landlord. So we've got to kind of figure that out as well, and how that would play into our entire strategy.
All right. Thank you very much. One of the things that's important to the people of the City of Taft, like Councilman Miller said, when they announced the closing of Kmart, there were a lot of people thought that the fault of that lied right here. Well, Sears Holding Company is a very large company, a publicly held company, and it's part of the fact that we claim to have a great deal of influence. I believe the chamber controls the weather. We're responsible for the Americans with Disabilities Act and the Federal Clean Waters Act.
Right.
But we do not control Sears Holdings. One of the things that we as a city council and a city are doing we're reaching out to you folks.
Right.
And getting you involved in the process. What we can control is once you identify those individuals, those companies that wish to become a part of our community, is we can control what we do internally.
Sure.
We will hold special meetings. We will streamline approval processes. We won't circumvent the law, but we will take full advantage of our opportunities to control the schedule. And that is what we do. We are pro-business and we're pro-growth and moving forward. And that is the part of it that we do play. So we really appreciate you all being here and being part of it, because that's what we need as a community. And look forward to your continued success right here in the city of Taft.
All right. Thank you all very much.
Do you have more information to hand out to us? I don't know.
I've got a couple. Again, those are just a draft. We'll actually be revising that before the final
When they're done.
version. That's just something we were, but we printed off. I guess Craig has a couple more copies.
Yeah, I believe in miracles, so put some out of your hat.
Okay.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Appreciate it. Okay, next item on the agenda, item number 3, citizens request public comments. Thank you very much. All right, this is the time and place for the general public to address the city council on matters within its jurisdiction. State law prohibits the council from addressing any issue not previously included on the agenda. Council may receive comment and set the matter for a subsequent meeting. Please limit your comments to 5 minutes. First up, Dr. Kathy Orrin of the Chamber.
Good evening. It's nice to be here. I've missed a couple sessions with you. Apparently, you can limp along nicely without me. I appreciate that. I want to say thank you to you for your generosity with the TOT tax. We are putting it to good use at the Chamber. Also, I want to thank you for your generous contribution to the fireworks show, and it was a wonderful show again this year. So we appreciate that. Very well attended once again. I want to let you know that the Chamber is doing well. We are not as active in July. Who is? It was miserable today.
Blame that on the mayor. Huh?
Yeah, it was 6 degrees hotter than it was supposed to be. I don't know how that happens, but we will not have any sit and sips in the month of July, as I've told everybody, and then we had one today at the Transit Center, but it was these gentlemen explaining what their mission is, and it was a very well attended one, and they did a great job, so I appreciate that chance. The next big thing that we'll be doing is scheduled for September 29th, and that is our annual golf tournament. And Shannon, before she goes on her honeymoon, I don't know why she thinks that's appropriate, but she will be leaving on a honeymoon. And she will have a lot of sign-up stuff and those kinds of things ready so that we won't miss a beat, and we will be able to go forward with our annual golf tournament. And it will be on September 29th. Hopefully it will be cooler on September 29th. Now I'm going to remove my Chamber of Commerce hat and I'm going to put on my Taft College trustee hat. And I would like to introduce to you Aaron Markovitz, who is sitting in our audience. Aaron, would you stand? Yes. Aaron is our new director of the TIL program, and he has been here for 2 months, but he has been busy, and now he's out and about and finding out what Taft is all about, although he resides in Bakersfield and he is very familiar with our community. But I want to thank you, Aaron, for being here. He's going to be, you'll be seeing him because he wants to know how our community works, and he wants to make sure that he's prepared with the programs that he brings through the TIL program. So, thank you.
Welcome to Taft. Welcome, Aaron.
Yes, that's all for me. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Warren. Thank you for a fantastic fireworks show. Once again, those of you who did not bother to come down to the Rails to Trails to watch a fireworks from afar, you might as well watch it on TV. When you can, for no money and a little bit of trouble, go down there and lay in the cool grass, take advantage of our venue and watch fireworks directly over your head, that's when you appreciate fireworks. All right, so thank you very much, Kathy, you and your staff, as well as the Public Works guys that help facilitate that and clean up after those who are not grown up enough to clean up after themselves, and you know who you are. So, thank you. To walk by a trash can and then halfway to another trash can, drop your trash on the ground is inexcusable. Shame on whoever did that. But thanks to Public Works for cleaning things up, as they always do. All right, next up, Jerry Starr with the Westside Healthcare District wants to address the council and the city. Jerry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, honorable council members. I'm here on behalf of the Board of Directors of the Westside Healthcare District and myself to express the appreciation of the district. Behind the scenes, Mark McLean, Mark Staples, Planning Director Craig Jones, City Manager Craig Jones, and your board members. First, for the visible presence on Friday at our groundbreaking. Sincerely appreciated. For the behind the scenes, the permitting, the review of programs, and trying to expedite things and move them forward. Sincerely appreciated. We're proud of the city of the Taft. We're proud of our district and its plans, and we look forward to presenting again to you when construction is near its end. And we just look forward to the partnership between the city and the district to bring the highest level possible of healthcare to the West Side.
Thank you very much, sir, and thanks to your board. Obviously, one of the most critical aspects of quality of life in any community, especially an aging community, is healthcare and a healthcare delivery system. It's one of the things that helps draw people and retail and people who wish to move into a community. So, a critical aspect, and thank you and your board for their commitment to the overall quality of life and the health of the city of Taft and the West Side.
Appreciate that. And our next strategic planning session is the 27th of July, before we set our direction for the next 2 to 3 years.
Excellent. Thank you very much, sir, and thanks for coming and seeing us.
Thank you, Jerry.
All right, next item on this evening's agenda, item number 4, council statements, non-action. I'm going to begin with ladies first this evening. Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Thank you. As I was one of the people that was attending that lovely groundbreaking ceremony, I'd like to express how beautiful that was, how high class, first rate, well done. Kudos to you and to Eric Cooper. That was a heck of a party. I mean, it was, thank God for that tent. I don't think any of us would have made it without the tent. And of course, the lovely gifts, we had fans. And for every woman who's ever had a hot flash, a fan is an essential part of life. So that was, it was so beautifully done. It made you so happy to be there. Well done. Just really well done. It was a pleasure to be there. So I also am very impressed with your extremely aggressive deadline. When you said you plan on having this ready to go between February and April, great. I hope so. That is going to be fabulous for our town. So good luck with that. And I hope the weather holds up perfect for you this year.
We're going to push for that. I've been told in hospital construction it's like bleeding and eventually stops.
Jerry, can you come back to the podium for a moment? I'd like to ask a question.
I believe we're going to have an El Nino this year, so I think it could be interesting.
I'm sorry, I'm used to the county board of supervisors, and when you're done, you're out of there.
We're a friendlier crew. Go ahead, Councilman.
What I wanted to ask you about is once it's built, you've gotten a new designation for the urgent care. Could you kind of explain a little bit what that designation means to the people in the community in regards to emergencies? And are you going to talk about expanding your hours, or what's kind of happening there?
Well, I should first say that we are an urgent care, and we offer walk-in services for the 88 hours we're open each week. We became a federally certified healthcare clinic in January 2017 under the Westside Family Healthcare name rather than Westside Urgent Care. We just haven't changed all the signage. The hours we're open will depend probably more on volume and the availability of providers. We will not have an emergency room per se. That's a specific licensure of a hospital. I don't believe that a hospital in the near future could be reestablished and operated in the community because of a number of fairly complicated factors. We will continue to operate these 88 hours after 5 o'clock. Frankly, if someone is so serious that they should be seen after 9 or 10 o'clock at night, they probably need to go to a hospital emergency room. We'll be open in the morning to take care of the highest level of care we can. I'm not sure I answered all of you.
Just people are curious and want to know. You're expanding the building. Does that mean you're expanding hours, services?
We're going to expand. Hours may not. Services, yes.
Okay.
We will have space to selectively, where the volume justifies, have specialists come to the patients instead of patients go to the specialist office, typically in Bakersfield. We are making plans right now to move into the existing facility and renovate some of that for dental services for the poor and underserved. So we'll become a rural health clinic dental service. We will develop additional services. There's a number of needs in the West Side that'll be part of the strategic planning conversation.
And the total cost of the project?
Sir?
The total cost of the project?
The project right now is bid. The public bid came out at $7,095,000.
There you go.
That's the construction. Then there are soft costs above that. The original budget was $10.3 million. That's what, unless there's a series of change orders, we pretty much expect to stick with that.
Oh, a $7 million project. For those naysayers in the community that say nothing's happening in Taft, well, there's $7 million being spent on a building. So, thank you and the board for all you do.
7 million, 10 million, like the gentleman once said, you're probably talking about real money.
Real money.
Not as much as Mr. Dirksen did, but that's pretty close.
Thank you, Jerry.
Any other questions? Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Bitzer's daughter. Thank you so much.
Do you have anything else?
Yes, I do. Also, a lot of people have talked about how are we ever going to fill this hotel. In case anybody didn't notice, our hotel is quite full, and with a lot of people from out of the city of Taft. This week, in the last 2 days, I have talked to a lady from Texas and a lady from North Carolina, and both of these people commented on how clean and pleasant our town was, in spite of the heat. I was told by one it was a dry heat. I don't care, it's still hot. It just doesn't really make any difference. But I really want to say kudos to our public works, because we do have a clean city. And for those people who say it's not, well, you're always going to find that one garbage can or two, 3 or 4 that are down. But we have a very clean city. When you go into other small towns, you do see a lot more clutter. Our city works for every event we have. They're right on it. For every day you walk down our streets are clean. And it's nice to see people that are from other cities appreciate our small town and talk about what a lovely environment it is. So I agree. I think it is a lovely environment. It's very nice to hear other people outside of Taft talk about it. That's all I have. Thank you.
Indeed. All right. Councilman Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. To piggyback on that just a little bit, I had a couple folks about 2 weekends previous to this in town for some Little League events. A lot of those folks stayed right there at that Best Western Hotel, and I want to make sure I say on this dais to the folks who run that hotel, that place is immaculate, and I could not tell you how many people come up and say, that's a beautiful hotel. How many people really say that about a Best Western? Just be honest. You think about it as kind of slightly higher than Motel 6, but it's not a Hilton, right? But that place is beautiful. And I want to say kudos to those folks for investing their time and efforts on the front end and then on an ongoing basis for that. But it's a gem. When people come here, it's another place that's going to keep people coming back to Taft. Two of the most prominent questions I get asked, and I'm sure you folks also deal with the same thing, is what is the city doing when it comes to health care? When are we going to bring in a hospital here and providing those types of services for folks? And what is the city doing to expand retail, jobs, commercial, those types of things in the city? My first response to the healthcare question is that's not the city's role. Now, granted, we have a role in expediting that and making sure that they have we're a good conduit but we're not the provider. But I want to say thank you very much to Jerry, to the Westside Healthcare District Board. Those folks are putting in all that effort and continuing to expand upon what we have currently to get us close to where we were, some time ago, and to continue to provide those types of services to the West Side, because we need them. Mr. Mayor, you mentioned that adds to quality of life, and it draws folks into Taft and keeps them here. And I look forward to that service expanding. And my second response when it comes to what are we doing to expand retail, to add jobs, and to infuse things into the economy, the gentleman that presented here tonight is step one, or at least one of these steps. It's the city taking a proactive approach to reaching out and bringing folks inbound to the city of Taft, and now not only analyzing what we don't have and complaining about it, but taking the step to do something about it. We do have tempered expectations, like we said. It's got a timeline that we've got to be realistic with. They're not going to snap their fingers and have a target here tomorrow. But you give it a couple months, maybe even a couple years, and we will have folks. He says that 95% success rate is pretty dang good. So temper those expectations, but don't lower your expectations or your dreams. And I don't think we've done that because we look forward to continued development, redevelopment, and revitalization here in the city of Taft. And finally, Kathy, definitely to you, Shannon, and all the folks at the chamber, thank you guys for a fantastic event. It was one of the things that always really inspires me about community, and anybody that knows me that community and coming together is something I really, really enjoy and I thrive on, and I find a lot of joy when we can do that. Forget everything else that's going on, just to be together and enjoy the freedoms that we have, for instance. So I remember standing at the corner of Supply Row and 6th Street, right there by the monument, and as the fireworks are going off, I want to try to catch a picture with the glare from the fireworks. You turn around and I look toward the monument, and in the red glare, there's a sea of people all sitting there in awe, free as all get, and enjoying their independence. And I thought that was an awesome, awesome thing. So that's my sentimental side coming out. I loved it. Thank you guys again for all that effort. City staff, thank you guys for putting together the permitting side, but also the folks who cleaned that area up, because I'm sure it sure didn't look like the areas over at the River Park or River Walk in Bakersfield did when they were done with theirs. So, no offense, but I'm a little bit more proud of our people than I'm sure they were of theirs. So, hope everyone had a fantastic Independence Day. And Mr. Mayor, that's all I have. Thank you.
All right. Councilman Cryer.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a lot of things that's happening right now in Taft is happening, but one thing we have in Taft is going for ourselves to have our growth and attract people and business and stuff. We have a strong chamber. It's very important to facilitate things for people coming into town and show off what we have in our city as far as goods and services and where to go and to enjoy their lifestyle, food, and all that. We also have a Taft College. I keep mentioning it's one of our jewels that we have. Attract people. Got a school right here for further education. We have our high schools and grade schools, second to none, all close by, all in one area there, pretty much. And it's just it's a pride. It's a gem there. There's the things that the developer here. I hope the gentleman was here earlier. We look at that and show that we have a strong community here. And the healthcare, like I say, we are growing. Things are happening, and as far as the hours and stuff, I just hope I don't get a heart attack or get something hurt at 2 a.m. I'd be in trouble. But that's where the helicopter comes in handy. But we're working at that. Hopefully, the time I need that, we'll have a 24-hour deal. But we're working at it. Things are happening. It's going to happen. But it's got to take one baby step at a time. West Side Rec. Man, I tell you what, I was there last night, and bowling alley was busy, and people in line there trying to, wanting to use it, and you go into the basketball court, and the different, I guess one was playing during football practice with little kids in there playing football during their maneuvers and all that, and the coaches in there yelling and screaming, the parents are sitting back there, not saying a word. I can see they're wanting to say something to the coach, but he did a good job, and the kids listened, and they did their maneuvers. So we have a great little community here, a tight-knit community, a safe community. We have our city is the best form of government. Starts right here, and we listen, attentive, and it's great. Police department here, doing a great job trying to do it. We have so many different elements, there's too many to mention in the short time I have. But anyway, I do want to bring up one thing, is a lot of our pillars of our community, they're they're dying, going on. And I want to recognize a lady, is Charmaine Brooks. Remember when I first started my business, my restaurant, 13 years ago. Set up my advertising up with the newspapers and stuff, and getting things set up. And I went to the Chamber of Commerce and introduced myself to her. And man, she got to work, helped me out with I need to do and stuff. She's a very gracious woman, very, very gracious. And before I knew it, I was on the board of directors. But after you spend too much time there, and I was on it for 10 years, and president for one. But she was a wonderful woman. She really truly cared. I went to all the galas she had there. 1 year during Oil Dorado, we had one out there in Oil Dorado. It was outside. They had little campfires out there at the old trading post on the North Street or Front Street there.
Supply Row.
And it was a great deal. And then we had one at the fort where we had one for on the ship and stuff. Well attended, made lots of money and stuff, and a lot of people donated. But she was a gracious woman, had all these great ideas, and she had a lot of help that made it happen too. I don't want to be out the workers and stuff, but she had a great knack of directing and making things happen. And she will truly be missed. Kathy, you're doing a great job too. I want to lift you on there. But also we got Randy Miller as a director. He did a terrific job. Everybody sitting in her place. She's an example to go. And they all did. You guys all did a great job and make the chamber better and better. And we're going through another time, in our city, and things are happening. I can't tell you how many things are happening. And we need to stay and stay and invest our money, buy our food, go to restaurants, try to keep as much as we can. I know you have to go to Bakersfield for things that you can't get, but we have most everything here, and take advantage of it, and keep the money here, and so our town can grow a little bit better and quicker, and hopefully and someday we'll have our new maybe a new bigger box store or something come in here, or people come here and take advantage of it. Anyway, that's all I have to say.
All right, thank you very much, Councilman Miller.
I'd like to apologize for not being here for 4th of July. I was in Rock Springs, Wyoming, on a road trip. My daughter is in the Air Force and drove her car out, and we drove back, and we left on the 3rd. So the next night we were in Rock Springs, and they had I think a 15-minute fireworks show that we could barely see over the hills. Anyway, I understand it was another spectacular. So
it was indeed.
Apologize for not making that. The deal with the Best Western, it's making the other hotels step up.
Oh yeah.
So it's not that they're not providing to our TOT tax, but they're stepping their game up. Competition is good, and that's good for everybody. I'd like to also point out, sometimes you drive around Taft and you just kind of a lost neighborhood is between Front and Oak and 6th and 10th. But there's a whole neighborhood in there, and a lot of people would just drive down 10th, drive by 6th, and just never pull into that neighborhood and see what's going on. But we got a CDBG grant of over $1 million. And we're putting in new sidewalks and some road servicing, guttering. So for those folks up there that never got anything for a long time, are getting a vast improvement to their neighborhood, and safer. It's going to be safer up there, and nicer, and people need to kind of drive by and pop into that neighborhood and look around and see what's going on. But what's the timeline on it, Craig?
It should be done middle of August.
Probably middle of August, it'll be completed. So it's another great improvement. City of Taft, we're on the move. We're doing things. Things are happening. You just got to get out and drive around and notice it and see it. So live here, don't just reside here. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you very much. In regard to the 4th of July fireworks show, which was great, and Kathy smiles big and beautiful and brilliantly, as she should, and take great pride in what she and her group did. I want to give a shout out to my crews from Huddleston Crane, who donated their time to go out there and rig up a crane and fly a very beautiful, huge Made in America, all embroidered, red, white, and blue flag. And it was illuminated, and the wind was just right. Absolutely beautiful. So just another part of the community working together so that we can all enjoy it. And we were happy to do it. So.
Was it bigger this year?
Oh, yes, ma'am. It's the first time that flag flew. So in spite of the fact that last year's was beautiful, my wife said, you got a bigger crane, you got to get a bigger flag. So guess what? I bought a bigger one. And that was the first time for it. So it was beautiful. Thank you very much, Kathy, once again for all of that. I'm going to withhold any additional statements. However, I feel compelled to talk briefly about this ever-present tax increase that's being discussed all around us. More taxes, more taxes, more taxes. The state of California taxes us to death. You've got the city of Bakersfield discussing an additional tax. You've got Kern County discussing additional tax. You've got the library group getting signatures so they can have a tax of their own. More and more and more taxes on top of what you're already paying. All those additional sales taxes are going to be laid upon the current sales taxes, which tax your road tax on a gallon of gasoline. Why is gasoline so cotton picking expensive? Well, why do you think it is, for heaven's sakes? And the fact of the matter is, it's not all that expensive. So I want to read something to you. I wrote a reply to somebody who sent out issues or sent out a article regarding the taxes. And in it, I talked about the fact that so many of them have their root in a very common problem that for whatever reason we seem not to have the courage to address. Shame on us. When I say we, I'm talking about elected representatives. The leadership in the state of California will not address the root problem. Where's the money going? Where's it going? The vast majority of this people, you've heard me talk about this, is going to servicing pension debt. We've got to solve that problem. We owe it to our employees. We owe it to the customer. All of us solve that problem and move forward. We've got to do it. But we keep selling all these additional taxes on these red herrings, and it's not the truth, and it's shameful. So I shared some numbers, and this helps put things in perspective. I will share some numbers with you. At the end of the year 2015, out of a list of CalPERS members, the city of Taft was number 270. That means 269 other members were in worse shape regarding the pension cost to revenue ratio burden. City of Bakersfield was number 235. The lower the number on the list, the higher the burden ratio. So the higher the number on the list, the better off you are. In 2009, the city of Taft spent $30,533 on our unfunded liability annual payment. That was 2009. Gasoline prices averaged $2.20 a gallon. Minimum wage was $7.25 an hour. Fast forward to 2017, the annual payment for the city of Taft grows from $30,500 to $410,100. Based on the numbers provided to us by CalPERS, which are always wrong, we can expect that $410,000 payment in 2023 will grow to $1.1 million. It will exceed that. So much talk these days about the price of gas and the low minimum wage. That's all we hear about. Had they gone up like our debt service on the unfunded liability, gas would currently cost $29.55 a gallon, and minimum wage would be $97.37 an hour. The forecast for 2023 would put a gallon of gas at $79.60 a gallon, and minimum wage at $262.31 an hour. That is if gasoline and minimum wage matched the increases of the cost of our unfunded liability. Where's all the money going? People. That's the reality. We hear about all the tax increases and the proposed tax increases, so let's talk about briefly the ones that didn't make it, and yet they tried to make it happen. So I'm going to share some of these with you. Senate Bill 794 would impose a new 3% tax on fireworks at the point of sale. The abuse of illegal fireworks is a matter of statewide concern. As such, it is totally appropriate to spend existing general fund revenues on enforcement and safety. Instead, they want to tax, additional tax, on the sale of fireworks, which nonprofit groups use to raise money. That one didn't get through. Assembly Bill 2497 would impose an undefined tax on guns and ammunition to fund school resource counselors and police officers. So the few people that purchase guns and ammo, they're already paying plenty. That's how we're going to pay for resource officers and police officers. AB 2303 and AB 2560 would create a new tax of up to 10% on small business vendors who contract out either with private prisons or with the California Department of Corrections. You think that might have an impact on the business plans of any of those facilities? I would have to guess so. An additional 10% tax. Senate Bill 623 would establish a precedent-setting tax on residential water use. Residential water use. That's one of those things you would have to pay the taxes because without water you die. 92% water, every one of them. Assembly Bill 2486 would impose a $100 million tax on opioid manufacturers and distributors to fund prevention and treatment programs. Senate Bill 993 is the latest version of a proposal to extend the sales tax to services, which will generate about another $100 billion in new tax revenue that will be lifted from consumers' pockets. Senate Bill 562 would impose an even larger tax, over $200 billion, to establish a single-payer health insurance program that would effectively make private health insurance illegal in the state of California. These are taxes that were proposed, talked about by legislators on the floor, but didn't make it. People, we are letting them tax us to death. And any new tax, you got to remember, is a tax coming out of what is left in your household budget, your discretionary funds. Those are funds that are worth a great deal more than your gross revenue. So if you take home $1,000 a week, and in order to pay all the house payments and the insurance payments and buy groceries and PG&E, you're left with $200 a week. When you're talking about these additional taxes, they come out of that $200. They don't come out of the $1,000. They come out of the $200 that's left. They're much more negatively effective than what they give them credit for. So, look hard. Look hard when the propositions come down the line, and we will talk more, because you are being taxed to death. And that, in point of fact, will kill the economy. And that's what's happening in the state of California. So, that is my rant. I am done for this evening. Thank you very much. We'll move forward.
Isn't there a tax on death too?
Indeed. Next up, item number 5, Planning Commission report. We have a Planning Commissioner here this evening.
Evening, Mayor Norm, members of the council. Planning Commission held a special...
Jerry, would you introduce yourself?
Jerry Livingston, Vice Chair of the Planning Commission. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
I thought everybody knew me.
They don't know you.
Oh, I think they do. Big ego. So we had a special meeting where the Planning Commission approved 2 projects. They will be on the corner of Supply Row and 10th, each side. One of them is going to be a new Dollar General, and the other is a project brought forward by Gary Coates, our developer for the Rails to Trails, which will include, at this point, it looks like 4 different kinds of retail, including expectation is a national coffee chain, which likely is going to have a drive up for those of you who can't wait to get to your coffee in the morning. There will be a national sandwich shop, I think a hair cutting shop, and a potential for another dining opportunity in the building. I think that just as an example, Dollar General is actually, I've seen some comments online. I try to avoid responding to them, but I'd like to at least a couple things. Dollar General is actually a less expensive option for the usual market basket of goods than Walmart. It competes with Walmart nationally, even though it's going to be a 9,000 square foot building. The items they sell are the same kinds of items you would get at a Walmart, but at a lower cost. And as I think mentioned by Retail Strategies, they are happy to be here and are more than happy to be competing with Dollar Tree and Family Dollar. They think that all 3 will benefit from the extra competition. So think that's good news for both the rails to trails, but also the efforts that people have been making are starting to pay off. And it did take a little bit of time to get these guys set up. Probably the other observation, I asked the questions, you don't get a new retail building if the project hasn't already got its tenants. You can't build one without having literally already signed the tenant to a future lease for those projects. So the obtaining of those potential customers by retail strategies could be a benefit for future development along the rails for the same reason. If you can satisfy them that a new building would meet their needs and fit their financial bottom line, it's a step in helping our developer actually get more buildings on the ground. So thank you for your time.
All right, thank you very much. Appreciate the report. Next up, item number 6, department reports. Do we have any additional department reports? Seeing none? No? All right, move forward. City manager statements. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I have no statements tonight.
No statement? All right. Item number 8, city attorney statements. Your Honor, any statements?
No statement, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Item number 9, future agenda requests. Do we have any future agenda requests from any council members? None this evening? All right. We'll move on with the consent calendar then. Consent calendar items 10 through 15. All items listed on the consent calendar shall be considered routine and will be enacted by one roll call vote. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a member of the City Council requests specific items to be removed from the consent calendar for separate action. Any item removed from the consent calendar will be considered after the regular business items. Are there any items on the consent calendar that any member of the public would like to comment on? Seeing none. Those items are item number 10, which is the minutes for the June 19th, 2018 regular meeting. Recommendation is to approve as submitted. Item number 11 is the payment of bills of about $440,000 worth of bills. Item number 12 is a janitor maintenance aid. Recommendation is a motion to authorize increase of appropriation in the amount of $12,500 in the Public Works Maintenance Budget Unit 10433-01201, part-time salaries. Item number 13, Home Investment Partnerships Program Home 2018 application. Recommendation here is a motion to adopt a resolution entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Taft authorizing submittal of an application to the California State Department of Housing and Community Development for funding under the Home Investment Partnerships Program, and if selected, the execution of a standard agreement, any amendments thereto, and of any related documents necessary to participate in the Home Investment Partnership Program." Item 14, the emergency purchase of a Fujitsu mini-split air conditioner unit for the server room. Recommendation is motion to ratify the emergency purchase of the Fujitsu mini-split unit. And finally, item number 15 is a contract amendment with Westside Waste Management Company Incorporated. Recommendation there is a motion to authorize the mayor to sign the amendment to the agreement between the City of Taft and Westside Waste Management Company Incorporated. Does any council member wish to remove any of these items from the consent calendar? Hearing none, at this time, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar, items 10 through 15.
Motion.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please?
Councilmember Miller.
Yes.
Councilmember Pryor.
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant.
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill.
Yes.
Mayor Knorr.
Yes, thank you very much. That's approved on a 5-0 vote. Next item on the agenda, item number 16, approve travel expense for council members to attend the League of California Cities annual conference and select a voting delegate. City Manager Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. In August 2001, the City Council adopted a policy establishing procedures and guidelines for travel and certain other expenses of council members. Pursuant to the policy, in order to be in compliance with the policy, it is necessary for council to authorize expenses prior to commitment for travel. Proposed expenses need to be reviewed and authorized by full City Council. The 2018 League of City Annuals Conference is September 12th through the 14th at Long Beach Convention Center. The conference will be held, and their annual business meeting will be on Friday, September 14th, 2018, at 12:30 p.m. To ensure the City of Taft is represented and has a voice at the annual meeting, it will be necessary to select a voting delegate to attend the business meeting. It will be necessary to select an alternate voting delegate in an event the delegate is unable to attend the meeting. Expenses are estimated to be approximately $1,400 per attendee.
Thank you very much, City Manager Jones. At this time, I would entertain a motion to approve and appropriate funds from general funds for registration, meals, transportation, and other incidental expenses for the council members who wish to attend the 2018 League of California Cities Annual Conference and the League of California Cities Annual Business Meeting in Long Beach, as well as a motion to select a voting delegate and an alternative voting delegate for the League of California Cities Annual Business Meeting.
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Councilman Bryant, you made the motion. Comment?
I would be happy to serve if no one else is available, but I went the last time, so I'd be happy to step aside and let someone else go if they would like to.
All right. Well, then, Mayor Pro Tem, you made the second.
It's not something I can do that particular weekend, but I would love to see Mr. Bryant go again. He represented us very well last year.
Okay. Actually, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
Is that correct? Okay. Well, Council Members Miller and Cryer, would either of you wish to attend?
I planned a 6 months in advance on a vacation that happens to fall on the 13th, so that's right in the middle of. Long Beach is the wrong way. Won't be able to.
Wrong direction, huh? Not on the way?
Can't make it.
All right.
I can
Councilman Cryer?
I can make it this year.
Well, then, it looks like Councilman Cryer and Councilman Bryant wish to attend. I see no need for a third. Last year, you were the voting delegate?
Yes, sir.
Or an alternate, I'm sorry. Did you go last year?
No, I did not.
Or so if you'd like to go, I'll be your alternate. Or...
I'll be fine.
No problem either way.
Okay. Councilman Miller, you have any, I believe you were nominated by Mayor Pro Tem Hill to be the voting delegate.
Whoever wants to volunteer, that's
Okay.
got my
We
vote.
both go. Don't we both go to it?
Yeah.
You can both go to it, but only one can vote. So
Yeah.
you just select the voting delegate in case
It's a
one of you
It's a
can't
closing-
make it to the
There you
meeting,
go.
and you the other one can.
Okay, so.
closing session on
Yep, I remember that one last year.
Friday. They give you
Sacramento.
a special card and you set in a certain
I
area.
nominate Orchel to be the voting delegate.
All right, there you go. All in favor?
Hey.
All right, I nominate you to be the alternate.
Thank you.
Alternate.
Thank
All in favor?
Aye.
There you go. All right, so we have a motion and a second. May we have a roll call, please, for both motion 1 and motion 2?
Yes. Councilmember Miller?
Yes.
Councilmember Cryer?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryant?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Hill?
Yes.
And Mayor Noor?
Yes, and that's approved on a 5-0 vote. Thank you, gentlemen, for taking the time to represent the city of Taft with League of California Cities. That concludes this evening's regular meeting. We will be going into closed session for item A, annual performance evaluation, Government Code Section 54957, City Manager, and B, conference with real property negotiator Craig Jones, City Manager, Government Code Section 54956.8, APN 032-110-74, 032-110-75, 031-040-17, 031-060-10, and 031-040-11.
They got bored in the middle.
I guess so. Obviously, people didn't hear me talking. All right. Good night, everybody.